In 1956, year of Cold War, America produces an answer for the future. The atom-powered submarine Nautilus passed all tests with flying colors, cruising submerged a distance equivalent to circling the globe. America's sea frontiers were pushed back in a mighty leap. With increased range, guided missiles were added to the underseas arsenal, and the submarine became a more formidable weapon of counterattack on enemy coasts. The year had indeed seen a revolutionary step forward in naval warfare and the nation's defense. Catholics of the world and all men of goodwill rejoiced on the 80th birthday of Pope Pius XII and the complete recovery of his health. 1956 also marked the 17th year of the pontiff's reign, truly a religious milestone. Beauty, as always, had its day. In Atlantic City, South Carolina's Marion Ann McKnight was crowned Miss America and congratulated by her predecessor. Fairest of the world met in Long Beach, California to determine the supreme accolade. Carol Morris of Iowa was named Miss Univers. In a turbulent year, beauty still reigned universally admired. Tiny Monaco took on Hollywood overtones when film queen Grace Kelly was tumultuously greeted as she arrived for her marriage to Prince Rainier. In a wedding of worldwide interest, the old world and the new were joined in a union which Monegasques hoped would found a new dynasty for the principality. No disaster in the year claimed a greater loss of life than the blast which almost leveled a portion of the city of Cali, Colombia. 7 truckloads of dynamite exploded in the crowded downtown section when business activities were at their height. For days, the search for bodies went on in the rubble. 1,200 perished in the disaster, as Colombia mourned its dead and the government investigated the possibility of sabotage. Tragedy and miracle at sea was the story of the Italian luxury liner Andrea Doria, sunk in a collision with Sweden's Stockholm on a foggy night of horror in the crowded shipping lanes near New York. 3,000 lives were in peril, but even as the sea claimed the proud ship, the extent of the miracle began to unfold. The Ile-de-France, steaming into New York with 700 survivors, had headed the rescue work of 10 vessels, which converged on the spot during the dark hours. New York's piers and their joyful reunion scenes were eloquent testimony of the miracle. Tragically, 50 had died, but a major disaster had been averted. It was election year in America, and Adlai Stevenson, former governor of Illinois, became the standard bearer of an enthusiastic Democratic Party at its Chicago convention. A short time later, the Republican convention met at San Francisco and made short work of its nomination. Their choice by acclamation was President Eisenhower. As returns rolled in on election night, the result was never in doubt. It was a landslide for the Eisenhower-Nixon ticket and America's resounding vote of confidence in its leader. Hated emblems of red tyranny went down as Hungarian patriots for 10 glorious days sent Russian armored might reeling in a struggle which pitted raw courage and rifles against tanks. But the heady breath of freedom was short, as 20 Red Armored divisions sent Hungarians by the thousands fleeing to the Austrian border with little left but their lives. The heartbreaking trek of 120,000 continued as the free world beckoned, but they had paid a cruel price. 25,000 dead were left behind, and the free world would long remember 1956 as the year of Hungary's martyrdom. The Suez Canal, lifeline of Europe in a dramatic sequence of events, became a cause of war when President Abdel Nasser announced its seizure by Egypt. Thrust, Israeli troops struck down the Sinai Peninsula to within a few miles of the canal itself. Within days, Egyptian forces were completely routed. The stage was set for the next move in the complex Suez situation. Britain and France, after a short ultimatum, in a joint sea and air invasion, attacked, following a preliminary air bombardment. From a staging area on Cyprus, airborne troops quickly followed and established a beachhead at the entrance to the canal. They were followed by seaborne contingents which swiftly controlled the Mediterranean end of the vital waterway. debris and chaos of bombing greeted the Anglo-French forces as they entered the conquered cities. But even as the occupation proceeded, world opinion against the invasion was mobilized. At the United Nations, the invasion was branded aggression and a ceasefire ordered. To implement the decision, Secretary General Dag Hammarskjöld flew to Egypt for preliminary negotiations. Emerging from the crisis, which for a time threatened world peace, the United Nations Emergency Police Force was born. Hastily assembled, it was jubilantly welcomed as it took up its task in Egypt. With this decisive action, the UN had merited the confidence of President...
In the past, the United Nations has proved able to find a way to end bloodshed. We believe it can and that it will do so.